All right, let's get into the second section. Now, first off, the warm-up problems. You're like, oh my gosh, why are we factoring again? Now, here's the deal. I'm just going to be honest with you. Factoring is going to start coming up in just some of these problems today. So I just thought, let's review our factoring skills just to make sure we have it under control. So we haven't done it in a while, so I'm going to go through them with you as a reminder. Plus, last year, the pandemic, who knows. So trinomial, lead coefficient 1. So these are the ones you can pretty much do in your head, but a little, explanation down. You have to come up with two numbers that multiply to the last number. In our case, that's negative 20. And we have to add up to our middle coefficient, which would be negative 1. So just think about that, know your times tables. What two numbers multiply to negative 20 and add to negative 1? Jacob?
5 and negative 5.
Good with the signs, good. That's as easy as it gets. Now, I'm going to do these a little out of order. I'm going to do 3 next. I'm going to go underneath that. Because trinomial, lead coefficient 1. So I have to do the same thing. Now, I'm not even going to write work this time. What two numbers multiply to negative 21 and add to 4?
Positive 7.
Jacob knows this time table. I like it. Now, one extra step on this one, though. It says solve the equation. So some of you can just do this in your head. I'm going to write the intermediate line. You have to set each factor equal to 0 and then solve for the m, the variable. Like I said, a lot of you can just do this in your head and skip that last line I wrote. Just subtract 7 off and then add 3 over. So just read your directions. Sometimes we just ask for factors. Sometimes I also want solutions out of you. Just depends on the problem. Now, the reason I did those kind of out of order 1 and 3, because now it's a little different process on 2 and 4. Trinomial still, but you have this lead coefficient that's not 1. So a little more work. You have to multiply your outside two numbers. So 5 times 9. I'm going to jot it on the side. We have to come up with two numbers that multiply to 45 and add to 18.
Oh, 15 and 3.
Good job, Coleman. Now here's the extra step. You have to divide each of those, the 15 and the 3, by that lead coefficient of 5. Now 15 over 5 comes out nice. I can do that in my head. It's 3. So my first factor, n plus 3. My second factor, this fraction, 3/5, clearly will not be a whole number. So the bottom, the denominator, the 5, goes in front of the variable, then the numerator. And don't forget, if you're ever like, oh gosh, I don't know, is it 3n plus 5, 5, I'm not sure the order, you can always, especially on a quiz or test if you're worried, FOIL it out and make sure you get the original problem back. n and 5n, n and 3, 3 and 5n. That's going to make my 18n in the middle, 3 and 3. So you can always do a little quick FOIL out if you're worried you have something not in the right spot. Now, I'm going to do 4 next, the last one, because it's the same process. Lead coefficient 5. We have to multiply the outside two numbers. Okay, what multiplies to negative 15 and adds to negative 14? Jacob?
Negative 15 positive.
Perfect. And because your lead coefficient's 5, we're going to scale these appropriately and divide them each by 5. So negative 15 over 5, that comes out nice, negative 3. So my first factor, r minus 3. 1 over 5 clearly doesn't divide out. We're going to put the bottom, the denominator, in front of the variable. That's an r, a sloppy r, and then the 1. Now, this one on 4 wants the solutions. So I want the two final answers for r. Most of us, I'm sure, can solve this right in your head. They get r alone, we'd add 3 over. The second is going to give you a fraction. But I think a lot of you can solve that in your head, because you're going to subtract 1 and then divide off the 5. So negative 1 divided by 5. So again, just reviewing the factoring, because like I said, it's going to start coming up. Even though we're on circles, it's going to start coming up in some of the problems we're going to have to solve by factoring again, reviewing the algebra. All right, let's actually get into the circles today. So notice it says find arc measures. Arcs are just pieces of the outside edge. That's what we're looking at today. That's why I asked you, hey, do you know how many degrees in a circle? And you clearly all knew 360. So that's what we're going to be working off of today. Now, of course, as always, we got a little vocab and things to fill in. First, let's talk about central angle. So, central angle is an angle whose center, its vertex is on the center. Central angle, center, kind of makes sense. So in the diagram, of course, angle ACB is a central angle. So if you take a look, it's a kind of here, ACB, its vertex is on the center. Now, just some other vocab words you might hear. So arc is what we consider its intercepted arc to angle ACB. That's the piece that cuts off. Now, you just told me this earlier, the sum of the measures of these central angles, the whole entire circle, is of course 360 degrees. And we already talked about a half circle, which is coming up, which will be 180. Now, more vocab, more things to fill in, not hard stuff, but let's get into it. There are two different types of arcs. We call them the minor and the major. So first I just want to move this little timer thing off my circle so we can see it all. Need a bigger screen. Okay, smaller arc. And again, to me, this is, common sense. The smaller arc is the minor. So clearly, the larger arc is the major. Smaller, minor, larger, major, kind of all makes sense, right? Minor arc, you always have to be less than 180 degrees, and you name it with 2 letters. So if you look down here in the circle in red, this minor arc, this is the arc symbol, what they're talking about, the arc symbol over the 2 letters. And you can call it arc AB, you could have it switched also and go BA. That doesn't matter, you just need the little arc symbol over the 2 letters. Now, the larger arc, of course, is the major arc. The major arc is more than 180 degrees, and this one is named with 3 letters. And that is the blue one. So just to show you, I intentionally put the name off the screen, just to show you to name the blue one, I'm going to call it arc ADB with the arc symbol on over top. Of course, you could have that flipped around, arc BDA. So minor arc 2 letters, major arc 3 letters. When I'm ready.
So I'm just curious, what would happen if both of them are like?
If both of them are what?
Are 180?
Well, hang on, Coleman, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. That, my friend, is the next slide, okay? So, now, here you go. So now we're going to talk about semicircles. We got into this. You told me half a circle was 180, and you were correct. Well, half a circle, 180, we call it a fancy name of a semicircle. So that is if it's exactly 180 degrees. So let's take a look at the picture and read a little bit more here. So it says semicircles are congruent arcs formed when the diameter. Now, vocab word, back to 10.1, diameter, goes through the center. It is a chord that goes through the center, and it clearly splits your circle into 2 equal halves. 180 on the left, 180 on the right. So of course you can see they're naming them congruent, arc ADB, so the left side, and you could call it BDA if you wanted, I don't care, whatever. And then of course equals the right half. Now, notice also for semicircles, you name them with 3 letters. So the only arcs you name with 2 are the minor. Major arcs you name with 3 letters, semicircles, 3 letters. So the only ones with 2 letters are the minor. Now, how to do the measures? Before I click the next slide, as always in geometry, it's going to be wordy, okay? But let's not overthink it. Here's what it boils down to. The entire circle totals 360 degrees. That's what you have to keep in the back of your head at all times today. Okay, let's look at the wordy stuff. So, one of the things you have to fill in on your notes, of course, I would start with this. Measure of the minor arc. That's super easy. The minor arc is the same as your central angle. So let me give you a minute to jot that in. You'll see it on the picture there. This is the last big amount of writing, and I can't really say that you have to do. So the minor arc, super easy. Whatever your central angle is, that's what the minor arc is. So here your angle's 50 degrees, so the minor arc is 50 degrees. Piece of cake. Now, to get the major arc, which of course is the rest of the circle. I'm going to do it in red here. To get that. Now here's where I think it's kind of wordy and confusing. The major arc, of course, 360 minus the central angle. All comes to 360. I don't get carried away and be like, oh my gosh, is this major, minor? What's the formula? I don't know how to do it. Well, if this piece is 50, the rest has to be 310 because it has to total to 360 degrees. You're just always totaling to 360. That's really the key. Or if I give you semicircle today, we'll total to 180 for a half circle. Just depends what they give us. So nothing too shabby today. Let's start getting some arc measurements. All right, that's the same thing. Let's do it. Find the measure of each arc. Now, before I even look at these different arcs, this is just me. I like to label everything on the picture, which you've seen in the past when we do all those angles. Then I just go back through and answer what they want me to do. So if I know this central angle is 110, I know this arc's 110. Now, they also gave me a diameter. So I have two half circles. So this needs to be 180. So 110, this would be 70, 70. To make the half circle 180, and clearly the other half circle 180. So it all adds to 360. Now I'm going to actually answer what they want. RS. RS. Well, clearly. Got it. Bam. Labeled 110. Too easy. RTS. RTS. Okay, the blue. So I'm just going to total it up. I had 180 for the half circle and another 70. So what's 180 plus 70? 250. Now the other way you could have done it, you'll get the same thing. For that blue arc, you could have done 360 and deducted the 110. That gives you 250 also. All right, final one. R, S, T. Why do you have to think about it? It's half a circle. What's half a circle? 180. Done. Or you could add the 110 and the 70 if you want to get fancy. This is as exciting and as wild as it gets today, everybody. Gotta love it. All right, I wish yours were in different colors just to make it easier to see, but what else? A recent survey asked teenagers if you would rather meet a famous musician, athlete, actor, inventor, or other person. Results are shown in the circle. Find the indicated arc measures. Okay, so let's start with A. Measure of minor arc, A, C. So I need the red. So we've got the 29 and the 108. We got to add them up. Now you can just do that in your calculator. I don't expect you to write any work. I'm just jotting it down above it for your notes so you know how I got it. 137. All right, let's do D. Major arc, A, C, D. So let's make it easy. It's the red one plus the 83. So my red one was the 137. Now I'm just going to add the 83 to it. So total that up. I did it earlier. 220. Moving on. C. Major arc A, D to C. So again, I'm going to add these together. 79, 61, 83. Clearly, you can just punch that all in your calculator. I got a sheet and look. It's 223. And then the last one, let's do this one in black. Measure of arc E, B, D. Now, two ways you could do it. Clearly, you can add up all the pieces, 79, 29, 108, 83, or you could do 360, the full circle, and just subtract off the missing piece. Either way you cut it, you're going to end up with, of course, 299. So any questions on those four? Agree this is easy, right? Yeah. This is the chapter 9, probably.
I feel like that this is just the complex.
Like it's going to be a trick and it's going to get crazy.
Yes. I feel like they're going to do something.
I wouldn't say like the rest of the chapter anything gets too crazy. It's just like there's different segments and oh, you set these equal. Oh, you do this to this. It's just different little calculations. Now this we have a little more work. I mean, not that much, because it wants you to also say if it's a major, a minor, or a semicircle. So not only do I want how many degrees it is, but you're going to tell me is it major, minor, or a semicircle. So clearly, I haven't even looked at the picture, but I know this one, 2 letters, minor. Now I'm going to actually try to find the measure of it. Okay. Now, let's fill in the missing pieces. We know the full circle's 360. Let's figure out this one that's not labeled. 80 plus 120, I'm at 200, 260. Oh, I've got 260. I clearly need how much more to get to 360? 100.
Oh,
Now, if you want, up to you, and I'm going to label it all because, I like to get carried away. Remember, the angle equals the arc. So I'm going to label all the arcs. 60, 60. 120, 120. 180. We know the angles equal the arcs. Technically, we're finding arcs. That's why I labeled the arcs also. Just getting fancy about it. All right, let's do it now. TQ, I clearly have labeled 120. Got it. Okay. Q, R, T. Now, that is clearly a major arc. It's over 180. The only reason I didn't label it right away, I'm like, oh, 3 letters, major. I'm like, wait, it could be a semicircle too. So that's why I waited to highlight it and look at it. All right, let's add it up. 80 plus 100, 180, plus 60. What's 240? All right, let's do this one in blue. TQR. TQR. Oh, don't even have to think about it. It's half a circle. 180. And of course, half a circle, it's a little fancy name, semicircle. All right, clearly, I don't have to think too much about this guy. It's minor. 2 letters always minor. And now I'm actually going to look at the picture to get the answer. From Q to S, 60 and 100. You guys are probably already done.
yeah.
All right, I'm like, I got to try to catch up. T to S, 2 letters, so minor. All right, let's get the measure. TS, this green side. All right, and then let's do the last one. RST. RST. I don't even have to think about it. It's half the circle. And of course, half circle, semicircle. Got it. Jacob.
Okay, so for like number 4, QS,
Yep.
why couldn't you have gone the other way?
So, I see what you're saying. Like how I have the black, the Q to the S versus this way. So remember, since it's 2 letters, it's minor. So you have to go the way that gives you less than 180.
Oh,
So if I went the other way, it'd be 200. That's a major. So that's why. Good. That's a good question, though, Jacob. Okay. All right. Last thing. This is more of the same, really. We just got fancy to throw some algebra in here to review. We got to do a little math and solve for x. Too easy, people. The angle, remember, equals the arc. So 136 equals 34x. Then, of course, divide by 34. Type it in your calculator. I did it earlier, but I can't remember the answer. I got to look for. Got it. Too easy. So again, I'm looking at, here I might have to do a little bit of work because I want to figure out what x is, so I need this angle. Okay, all right, I can figure it out. The full circle, of course, remembers 360. So you've got your right angle. We've got the 110, so that's the same. So 90 and 110, I'm at 200, so I need 160 more. So now I know negative 53x plus 1 is going to equal to 160. So you did have to do a little figuring to get the 160. Jacob.
x equals 30.
Already got it for me. All right, I like it. How about negative 3? All right. Okay. Nothing too crazy, am I right? All right, final 2. So, same thing, we want to figure out what x is. So I'm taking a look at this, I'm like, ooh, this one's nice because they gave you some diameters. Remember, diameters go through the middle. Semicircles. I'm going to split it and look at that one. So I've got this left half of the circle, or the top half of the circle kind of. So 108 and 12x make half a circle, which we know is 180. And of course, I'm going to solve it. Let's subtract 108. So 180 minus 108. I'm going to divide by 12. Final answer. Do you know 72 divided by 12? 6. So a little bit of a mixture of stuff. The first one's super easy, they're equal. Next one I had to figure the angle, half circle. Let's see what our last one is. Oh, easy. Because our angle equals the arc, which they tell us both. I don't have to do anything but set them equal. I like that. So I'm going to add 2 over. All right, and divide by 27. Final answer. What's 27? 160 divided by, I forgot. 6. So there are a few of these on the homework too where you have to go through and solve for x. Not that that's scary. So, of course, I've got a little review packet. There's some 10-1 stuff on it too for you, along with the 10-2 to get you ready for this little quiz we're going to take on Friday so that I don't have to give you any homework over spring break. Everybody's happy about that. So let me grab these for you.